Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. And today I'm going to talk to another underrated film I just finished, and it's a very uncomfortable, disturbing psychological horror. And it's a psychological horror I believe is done right. This is May, the considered cult classic horror film that came out back in 2002, starring Angela Bettis, Jeremy Saito, and Anna Ferris. And it's a film centered around May, a socially awkward and isolated teen who desperately yearns for connection and love, and she doesn't get that. She has this doll, a weird doll. Also, the character has a lazy eye. She has this weird doll that she sometimes talks to, and the film questions whether or not if the doll is alive or not, or that the main character May is just slowly sinking into insanity. Now, this is more of your just slasher film. In fact, this film is a build up character piece of somebody desperately wanting to connect. In fact, this is one of the granddaddies of horror that follows that structure. I mean, you got Joker, you got a bunch of those other movies that does that, but here I think this one does it literally one of the best because I think I mean, it's a thing everyone, or I would say anybody who feels that way of trying to connect with people and desperately want that acceptance could relate to that feeling. Uh, Especially when it comes to having a relationship, wanting to experience the things that everybody else experiences here. But what I thought this film did so well is that it made you feel something that I think it made you feel something a lot, I think, more resonating. Um, Especially coming of age in your teens, trying to figure yourself out, trying to learn what you like, what you've uh, dislike when it comes to interacting with the opposite sex, when it comes to just figuring out a way to fit in and dealing with, well, personal disabilities, dealing with isolation, dealing with maybe not very supporting parents. And the film touches on that briefly, but mostly on the fact that how an unhealthy upbringing can lead to a very traumatizing uh, cause and effect. Cause and effect. I think that's the best way I can kind of word it. What I'm a little bit, confused about with this film is that whether or not what the film is trying to convey is the doll that uh, May is talking to is real or not. I mean, the doll is real. I'm talking about if the doll had a mind of its own, which I don't personally think it did. I think it's just the main character just losing her mind and believing that her only way of connecting is talking to this doll. And the film chronicles her being on relationships, having friendships, or at least trying to, but then, well, some of the people that she encounters don't have the best intentions on her behalf. And you see that. What I really liked about this film that it's also emotionally depressing because like it's one of those films similar to Joker, similar to these kind of, I guess, tropey horror films where you witness a character fall from grace. I think the build up to it feels authentic compared to all the other ones we've seen before. It feels more grounded. It feels more relatable. And this actress here, which she's not a big actress, I think she's only done a lot of just mostly indie horror films, and I think and I briefly researched her up a little bit. She's mostly worked with this filmmaker Lucky McKee, who's known for doing low budget psychological horror. Uh, this film does a great job of making you feel uncomfortable in psychological horror. And that's the best horror so far, at least for me. It's a slasher psychological horror where you are witnessing a character losing their mind and you feel it. I feel like a lot of the other films that try to do that, like Joker, you don't necessarily feel it. You hear him preach about it, but I don't believe you feel what the main character is feeling. And the character is also weird, and you see her desperately trying to establish these connections, but she goes about it the wrong way because she's been so isolated and withdrawn, she doesn't know how to do it. And you see her attempt to do it, and she messes it up. You feel for that. You feel, and you are you feel her failure of trying to connect. It you feel it. You it's sometimes it's emotionally unbearing to see this character fail trying to connect with another human being, and it's heartbreaking. But then when she goes on this on when she goes on her killing spree, it's unnerving. It's suspenseful. It's tragic and it's shocking at the same time. And this movie's 2002, so anybody who's been around that time, you do feel the 2002 crazy edit sometimes in this. Uh but it doesn't take away the fact that this film was beautifully made, and it does give you a little bit of a very anxiety, uncomfortable vibe feel for a psychological horror film, and that I think has been missing in a lot of horror films these days, except maybe for A24, except for like the low budget kind of horror. Mainstream horror, you don't feel that. It's mostly just spectacle. And I got to be honest, anybody who's a horror film fan, I highly recommend this movie. Like I was really into it, man. I mean, it's like around 95 minutes. It's not long, and it does start out from moment from the film, and then it flashes back to how that character got to that position. And I, I would say, hey, man, this is a film I highly suggest you recommend. From as I'm currently making this video now, the film is available on Tubi, but it only has 6 days left to watch it. But I urge you to seek it out wherever you find it available. Uh, hit me up on my page. I'll search it out for you in case you just don't want to look for it. Because I highly recommend this film. It's disturbingly uncomfortable, and I have maybe there's one gripe about it. I don't recall the film ever mentioning the main character's parents or where their parents are at, unless they mention that she lives alone. I think that's a plot hole into the film that doesn't really get mentioned because there's things she does in the film, and you know A parent wants to get involved in the things that May does. I'm telling you. May, have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.